The envelope was thick, cream-colored, and addressed to me in an elegant, unfamiliar script. It arrived on an ordinary Tuesday. Rain pattered steadily against the windows of our small apartment, the air inside tinged with the scent of yesterday's cooking and damp laundry. Lily was coloring at the chipped formica table, humming to herself. I tore the envelope open, expecting a bill or maybe a pizza flyer. Instead, it was legal letterhead. The name at the top, Agnes Vance, my great-great-aunt on my mother's side. The side of the family that had cut ties decades ago when my mother married my father, someone they never accepted. My mother bore their silence with quiet sorrow until the end. Agnes was always the mystery, the one who had stayed behind in the old house while the rest of the family moved on. The letter was clear. I had inherited a house. I was the sole beneficiary. But there was a condition. I had to live there for 12 consecutive months without being away for more than a few days at a time. If I completed the full year, the house and a modest trust would be mine. If I failed, the estate would go to a historical society. My first thought wasn't about reconnecting with lost relatives. It was about Lily, her tiny hand holding a crayon, her face full of concentration. Her future was fragile. We were barely getting by, living paycheck to paycheck. I juggled 2 jobs, serving at the diner in the morning and cleaning homes at night. Every unexpected expense sent a ripple of fear through me. The idea of a stable home, of owning something, it felt like a miracle we didn't deserve but desperately needed. This is a way out, I whispered to myself. A real chance. We're going on an adventure, Lil, I said aloud, my voice a little too cheerful. She looked up, eyes bright with curiosity. Packing didn't take long. We didn't own much, just a few boxes and 2 worn suitcases. The furniture stayed behind. We left in my old car, the drive long and winding, the trees growing thicker and darker as we neared the town. The house was outside the town limits, down an unpaved drive that seemed to stretch forever. When we finally arrived, the house stood like a shadow against the dusky sky. It wasn't quaint. It was old, looming, almost like it was waiting. Inside, the air felt dense and unmoving. Dust floated thickly in the light from the door. The smell was a mix of mildew, something metallic, and a faintly sweet, decaying odor I couldn't place. Lily, usually full of energy, clung to me. Her eyes were wide. "It's dark, Mommy," she whispered. "Just needs the lights turned on," I said, trying to sound calm. But the switch clicked uselessly. No power yet. That night, we huddled in sleeping bags in the living room, the only area I could make remotely comfortable. The house was full of the sounds of age, creaks, groans, the wind slipping through gaps in the walls. But beneath those natural noises, there was something else, a sound like dragging, faint and low, somewhere deep within the structure. I told myself it was mice, just mice. My goal was clear: stay the year, keep Lily safe, make this house a home. We started with Lily's room. I chose the one with the largest window, hoping sunlight would help. Cleaning became a daily ritual. Every surface was buried in dust, every piece of furniture draped in yellowed sheets. But the way Agnes had arranged things felt deliberate. Objects grouped together in peculiar ways that didn't make sense as decoration, almost like markers. Exploring the house became more than necessity, it became urgent. I searched for drafts, odd noises, anything that could explain the uneasy feeling that grew stronger each day. The basement held a root cellar that smelled damp and earthy. On the walls, faded chalk markings remained, geometric designs that were unlike anything I'd seen. Agnes's study upstairs was filled with strange books on astronomy, obscure sciences, and local myths. The air there was cold. Light seemed to bend oddly in the room. At times, the edges of my vision would blur. A faint hum, almost like a ringing, would fill my ears until I had to step out. And then the sounds changed. No longer just creaks. They became rhythmic, deliberate. A dragging sound along the baseboards, a soft tapping on the walls, often near Lily's bed or mine. It had a pattern. It felt intentional. Lily began talking less about sounds and more about the quiet friends in the walls. She would stare at a spot for long moments, her eyes distant. She'd smile to herself, whispering or drawing odd patterns in the air. One day, I found her dolls arranged in a perfect circle around a smooth stone I'd never seen before. She looked up and beamed. The quiet friend is playing too. A chill ran down my spine. I guided her gently away. Let's play in the kitchen instead. As we walked away, one of the dolls toppled over on its own. I didn't look back. That night, the tapping came again, louder this time, more insistent. It felt like a knock. I held Lily tightly as she slept. The house changed around us. Hallways felt longer than before. Rooms didn't look the same from day to day. Some spots became heavy with pressure, the air thick and hard to breathe. It would pass suddenly, leaving me shaken. Lily's drawings became stranger, complex, angular shapes that mirrored those in the basement. When I asked her, she'd say simply, "They showed me." One afternoon, I was hanging a photo in the hallway, just something warm, a beach memory. Behind me, the air stilled. Dust in the sunbeam froze. I didn't hear footsteps, but the sensation was unmistakable. Someone or something was standing just behind me. I didn't turn. I couldn't. Eventually, the feeling passed. I picked up the hammer I'd dropped without realizing and walked away, my skin cold. Sleep became nearly impossible. Every time I closed my eyes, strange shapes and flashes would dance in the darkness, angles that didn't belong in this world. The house never felt empty. Something watched. One morning, I woke to find Lily standing by the bedroom door. Her hand hovered near the knob. Her gaze was fixed on something beyond the frame. Then I heard it. A low, grinding sound from the hallway. Not a creak. Something slow, intentional. I jumped out of bed, pulled her into my arms. The doorknob began to turn, slowly. Then came a knock, 3 soft, steady taps. Tap, 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 tap. I stepped back. The knocking stopped, then silence. And then I knew. It was time to go. This house, whatever it was, had noticed us. I held Lily tightly. We had to leave. I didn't care about the inheritance. No amount of security was worth what this place was becoming. We needed to get out before it decided we were part of it. I moved quickly, driven by a deep, instinctive need to escape. Down the stairs, the old wood beneath my feet groaned louder than ever, each step threatening to betray me. The air in the foyer had thickened, dense with a strange, sickly sweet metallic scent. My gaze locked on the front door, the final barrier between us and freedom. I reached for the doorknob. It was cold, unnaturally so, and slick beneath my fingers. I twisted. Nothing. I tried again, harder this time, bracing my shoulder against the heavy wood. Still nothing. It wasn't just locked, it was sealed, fixed in place. I shook it, pounded on the door, each strike echoing like a heartbeat through the still air. The silence of the house pressed in around me, unmoved, indifferent. I turned, desperate, scanning for another way out. The windows, ancient, painted shut, warped with age. I sprinted to the nearest one, prying at the frame, my fingernails catching in the layers of paint. It held fast. I tried another, and another, all sealed, as though the house had closed itself off. Drawing a breath it refused to release. A new fear settled over me, sharp, icy, unshakable. We weren't just caught in some legal trap. The house itself was holding us here, and something inside it was aware. The feeling of being watched deepened, no longer a distant pressure, but a focused presence, alert and observant. The air tingled with a strange, electric anticipation. I felt the structure around me, not just the walls and floors, but something deeper, something aware. The subtle movements I'd noticed before, the gentle swell and fall of space, became unmistakable. The house was breathing. We were inside it, suspended in lungs that flexed with quiet rhythm. Then came the sound, not a creak or a knock, but a low, resonant hum, rising from the foundation itself. It pulsed through the floor, into my legs, into my chest. It wasn't a sound meant for ears, but for something else, something deeper. It shook loose thoughts that weren't my own, ideas that defied reason. Lily stirred in my arms, her small voice barely a whisper. "Mommy? What's that noise?" "It's okay, sweetheart," I said, holding her close. "Just the old house." But I knew better. The sensation of being watched intensified, not with hunger, but something else, something possessive. It wasn't hunting. It was choosing, and its attention was on Lily. The scent in the air thickened, coating my tongue with something coppery and unnatural. Breathing became harder, the air dense and unyielding. Shadows stretched, detaching themselves from the walls. They shifted and flowed, not quite forming, not quite formless. I retreated with Lily, inching to the center of the room, away from the corners, away from the encroaching dark. My mind raced, panic sharpening my thoughts. How could I protect her? How could I escape a place that had decided we could not leave? Then silence, complete, unnatural. Not a creak, not a breath. The kind of silence that vibrates in your bones. Lily's hand clutched my shirt, her eyes wide, fixed on something in the room I couldn't see. The hum grew, stronger now, pulsing through the floor through her. Her eyelids fluttered, her hand fell away. Her body relaxed in my arms, unnaturally still. I lowered her gently to the rug, panic tightening in my chest. She wasn't asleep. Something had taken her awareness, left her suspended in that unbearable quiet. And then I was alone. The air grew thicker still, less like air, more like water. The shadows in the corners no longer clung to the walls. They moved with purpose, alive with silent intent. The room warped, the ceiling rising beyond what was possible, the walls stretching outward, unmaking the familiar space around me. Something pressed into my mind, not pain, but understanding. I saw things not with sight, but with a deeper sense, twisting geometries, cold, endless space, something vast, something ancient, something that waited, and then it focused on me. There was no voice, no words, but the meaning was unmistakable. I saw the house, not as a building, but as a fixed point in something far larger. I saw my bloodline, my place in it. I saw Athens, the last to hold this role. This wasn't a haunting. It was an occupation, and it required continuity. Then came the offer, not a bargain in the way we understand them, but an understanding. My need, safety for my child. Its need, stability, connection to this place. It would provide security, permanence, a future for Lily. In return, I would serve. I would maintain this point, act as its steward. Terror gripped me, vast and overwhelming. Every instinct screamed at me to run, to escape with Lily, no matter the cost. But I looked at her, still, peaceful, untouched by fear. And I made a choice. In the quiet of my thoughts, I projected one condition: let her be free. Let her grow, live, choose. Until her time. There was no reply as we understand it. Just a pause, a weighing. Then the sensation shifted. The focus moved away from Lily, fixed entirely on me. The condition was understood. I stayed kneeling by her, heart pounding. My hands trembled. But somewhere beneath the fear, something deeper stirred resolve. I opened myself to it. I accepted. I became the custodian. The room settled. The walls drew back into familiar lines. The shadows receded, though they remained watchful. The air lightened. The presence, though still there, had changed. It no longer pressed. It surrounded. Lily stirred, breathing steady. She was safe. For now. But she was no longer untouched. This house, this inheritance, it came with a legacy. A future shaped by forces older than memory. The house is quiet tonight. The tapping has stopped. The whispers are gone. But the silence is heavier now. The silence of agreement, of a future claimed. We are not haunted. We are chosen. And the weight of that choice has only just begun to settle.